We are so happy you all chose to spend a Friday night at the very tail end of summer with us. We are so grateful that you are all here today to celebrate Demo Day, which is the end of our 12-week Summer Accelerator program. I could tell you all kinds of things that happened over the summer. You heard first and foremost from our amazing team. So the video you just saw was our teams that participated this year. I can tell you that these teams have worked so incredibly hard over the last 12 weeks to come up here and show you today all the things they've figured out and the amazing experiences they've had. But I did want to show you a couple of things first. So if you have students or family in our program, they probably talked about the fact that we worked them really hard, that we made them think through really complicated challenges, that we gave them really hard feedback consistently. But let me show you something else. We also had a whole lot of fun. I think one of the best things about the Summer Accelerator is the cohort really comes together and is a massively supportive unit for each other. And we find ways to really ensure that there is mutual growing, mutual support. Teams that are working on entirely different projects still learn from each other. They walk across the table, they talk to somebody else that's working on a problem. And we really get to see and experience in real time what being together, what a connected community does, and how it really significantly improves the outcome of the teams and the experiences for the students. This was a fun year because we had quite a few people that were in a lab, and then a couple of teams that made our office a lab, which I'll get to in a moment. But I wanted to say we had 4 teams that actually were either on a lab on campus or in a remote lab. So people were in and out, and we were getting pictures and feedback and data and how things were progressing. And it was really fun to have them out and in and telling us everything that had been evolving. And then we had a couple of teams who made our office a lab, which actually ended up being a whole lot of fun. You know who you are, One Fountain Health and NeuRelief. There was a couple of times in the last 2 weeks where one of them, One Fountain Health, decided that they needed to finish their product design by extreme hammering on plastic. And it was actually one of my favorite moments of the summer because it really showed how real of a process is, right? This isn't just a concept. We're not just talking about business ideas. We're actually hammering plastic in an office, and they were very mindful about it too, Victoria, you're fantastic. But it really, really shows how real the program is. And then we had Jeremy and Rex. You can see they were working with a 3D printer, and their desk was a disaster constantly. There were things everywhere because they were inventing, right? They were actually in the inventing process, and it was so much fun to see how they were doing, how they were moving forward, and it really is just a complete pleasure for us to be part of that experience. There's a couple of things that really make our program stand out, and I obviously talked about our participants, but the other thing that really ensures that these brave entrepreneurs are getting the most they can out of their time is the people from our community, whether they be alumni or our local community, that really invest into our entrepreneurs. We have an extensive amount of programming throughout the summer that really help them advance, whether it be their financial plan, their product development, customer research, and all the people that come in and run these sessions are our volunteers. And we are so damn lucky that we have incredible alumni that come in and spend the time. We have incredible community members that come in and teach about IP law and venture investing and marketing and how to run your finances, all the basics to really run a business. And the great thing too is our mentors are very gentle with how they give feedback, and the staff is not gentle about how we give feedback. So they really get both ends of saying, hey, we're encouraging you, think about this, do this, and then we come in and say, hey, you guys are off track here, 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 and here. But what that really does, it gives them such a fulsome experience of understanding where they should be headed and how much they can really glean from the whole process. Another really fun thing that we had this year was, and we've done this every year thanks to a tradition started by Russ Nash, which is really one of, I think, a highlight of the Summer Accelerator, is we have previous Summer Accelerator teams come back and talk to our teams. And you can see, where are they? Up here in the left. These are primarily folks that have been fairly recently in the program. Sometimes they're folks that have been in the program out of the program much longer, and they share what their experience has been. And the cool thing about that is a lot of them are very early still, and so they're able to share and explain some of the experiences that they've had within the last year or two that are really relevant to what our teams are facing today. And so we're extraordinarily grateful for everyone who comes in and really helps shape where our students are going. And this is something that we did a little research on last year. In fact, our student assistant last year is actually pitching on stage today, so that's a pretty exciting full circle moment for all of us. But we looked at the about 10 years of data from the Summer Accelerator, and we said, okay, like, how did we do, right? What's our success rate? What we found out of 105 teams in the Accelerator is that we have a 33% success rate, which means the company is either still in operation or has been acquired. And I know somebody in this audience knows what a typical entrepreneur success rate is. 10%. So we have young, and that came from Haley Pavoni, one of our extraordinarily successful entrepreneurs, but that really shows two things. One, I think we have an incredible group that comes through our program. Cal Poly attracts the biggest, the brightest, the biggest thinkers, and the people that are not afraid to get their hands dirty. So I think we get a fantastic group that really want to come in and make this work. And then we get them a fantastic experience. And so as they go, we track them now, and we see where they are. And the other thing that we learned, which to me was absolutely astonishing, is that 57% of CIE participants have a C-level title. And remember, the oldest cohort is 10 years ago. So these are people who in 10 years or less have achieved a C-level role. And we are so proud of our teams and really impressed by what the students do in the program and the amazing things like they do after, like Haley, who had a really big sales day today, which we're very excited about. Yeah, applause for Haley. So as I mentioned before, our program could not operate without the volunteers that come and show up for us. And there's a few folks that we want to call out who really make a significant difference. Jim Fenwick, Lori Jordan, Barry Lieberman, and Dan Weeks. I could probably spend an hour talking about what these individuals contribute, the time they spend, the thoughtfulness, the questions they answer. They pose challenging thoughts to our students to really make them think about where they're going. They drop in, they drop out. They're available when people need help on something. I've heard Jim Fenwick say, hey, you guys, your slides today weren't great, but you want to get together for 2 hours tomorrow and we'll sort it out. This is the quality of people that participate in our program, and we are eternally grateful. We also have with our Summer Accelerator teams lead mentors, and the lead mentors play very many roles for our teams. Yes, they are often in an industry which our team is in, or they have applicable experience. But the thing is, they play probably the most important role, which is team therapist, because this is hard. And people dynamics are hard, and founding dynamics are hard. And they're trying to solve all these problems while they're also trying to figure out, how do we do this together? How do we combine our work? And our lead mentors are there on weekends, on nights. I see them in the office consistently sitting down, working through, hashing through with their teams. And we couldn't be more grateful because our teams could not exist at the level that they do without the lead mentors. And it is not an insignificant amount of time that they give. So we are very grateful. So thank you to all of the lead mentors. We have many of them here today. You guys are really pretty spectacular. And then a few more folks, just because we didn't want to miss that there were a group of folks that came in for what we call our midpoint reviews. And this is, as it sounds, sort of midpoint through the series. We come in and we sit down and we go through the pitch, the business, and how it's going. And we're really grateful for this team because they were so incredibly thoughtful about thinking, hearing, listening, pulling things out of teams, and really helping them advance, which is such a critical point at the midway because they only have 6 more weeks to go before they have to get up here and hopefully blow the socks off of you all. So thank you very much to our midpoint reviewers. Your feedback is invaluable, and also many of these kept coming back as well because that's just how they are. And I wanted to close on just a really heartfelt, deep thank you. Thank you to the families of our students for trusting your students with us for the summer. We have grown to be so fond of them, so impressed by them. And it gets emotional when we know that they're not going to be with us every day. But thank you so much to the families that supported your students for doing something that is absolutely crazy. Entrepreneurship is a crazy concept, but there are people who were born for it, and I feel like those are the people that are in our program. So it's just an absolute privilege to have you guys, and you know how much you mean to us. I also want to thank our community members and our supporters from the city and the county, our myriad of donors and alumni who continue to show up year after year after year to make this program a success. It really would not work without all of you. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for coming to celebrate our teams. And I can't wait for you to see what they have created for you this year. And with that, I am going to pass it off to Tom Katona, who some of you may know. He's not going to come out because he knows I'm going to say something about him. Those of you, I'm sure many of you know Tom Katona. Tom is our academic director. He has been at Cal Poly for 11 years. And I am not exaggerating when I say this program would not exist without Tom Katona. And the time, the energy, the heart, the passion, working extraordinary hours in benefit of our students, there's almost no words for what his impact could be. So I would love for you all to give a giant round of applause in appreciation for Tom.
All right, welcome to Demo Day. So I'm the academic director for the CIE. I get to run this program, and what that mostly means is that I find a lot of people to actually do the work. So I reach out to everybody, a lot of you who have come here. And the other thing that I get the opportunity to do is to derail our team. So one of the things that I realized this summer, had multiple occasions where I sat down, the teams came to me, they were working through something, I met with them, I left, I was like, oh, that was a great meeting, they seemed so great. And then I get a call like 3 days later from their lead mentor. They say, gosh, our team is spun up, they're doing this or that, and we don't know why, and I don't know where they got this idea in their head. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't either. That's strange. So Jan Haynes, talking to you. But seriously, I really don't do much more than coordinating a lot of skilled people's efforts. And so I thank everybody who's involved in this program. And my next job, my only job, is, there we go, is mostly to turn this show over to the people that did all the hard work this summer. And we passed out cash. Many of you are carrying around sort of fake money. You were out networking with the teams, and I'll remind you about this at the end. But what is the cash for? So your cash is to invest in the team that you were most impressed by. You can split your money up to among multiple teams, put it all in one bucket. The team that has the most faux money is getting a meeting with a couple of investors from Central Coast Ventures, thanks to Jolie Dittmore. And they get to sit down and get not an investment meeting, but really a sit down with angel investors to go through where they're currently at and get advice on what are the steps they need to take to get to the point where they could raise a sort of external investment. And so that is the prize that they are competing for. So invest your dollars wisely. And now it's time to meet the teams. So the first team that you get to meet is made up of 2 Division I athletes, college beach volleyball players, and I found them to be so coachable. And you'd say, well, of course, they're Division I athletes, but I think the reason that this team listened so much is they were both intimidated by my height. And so they were really fun to work with. They came to me halfway through the summer and were like in a panic, and they said, we have been doing work in the lab, and we realized all of our chemicals were expired, and our data is bunk. And I was like, yeah, that happens. But they were really stressed out. But to their credit, they basically just were like, okay, that happened, that sucks. And since then, they have been in the lab day and night, kicking butt and taking names. And they are working on a problem that needed to be solved years ago. So I would love to welcome to the stage Kira and Addie from Elora.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Tom, for that. It was very sweet. And I'm wearing my heels just to add a couple inches. But thank you all so much for being here. My name is Addie. I'm joined with my co-founder, Kira, and we are Elora. I'd like to begin, thank you so much. I'd like to begin by telling you all a brief story. I have a friend, and we'll call her Grace. A couple of years ago, Grace was at a party, and she was laughing and dancing and seemed to be having a great time. Moments later, Grace was unconscious in a closet, and she only had one drink, but that drink was spiked. And because of that, Grace was mentally, emotionally, and physically violated. Now, the absolutely horrific reality of the situation is that Grace could have been your daughter, your sister, or your friend, and her story is one of far, far too many. 56% of women have unknowingly consumed a spiked beverage. And I'm sure you can imagine drink spiking doesn't just affect the many men and women who are survivors, it also affects their families. Think about dropping your daughter off at college not knowing that 1 in 4 of her or her peers will have their drink spiked for the first time while they're in college. Maybe you've even bought a product for yourself or for a loved one to keep them safe from drink spiking. Well, unfortunately, 83% of those solutions are not being used. Drink covers, test strips, they're bulky, they're embarrassing, and they're extremely obvious. And 70% of women in college wouldn't want anyone to know they're testing their drink in the first place, so walking around the bar with a sippy cup lid is simply not cutting it. At Elora, we are creating a solution that seamlessly blends style and safety. Our drug-detecting chemical sensors are designed to be discreetly embedded into aesthetic jewelry and personal accessories to empower women to enjoy their social experiences with a sense of safety and confidence. Let's return to Grace's story. If she had been wearing an Elora bracelet that night, she could have used her finger or her straw to transfer a drop of that beverage onto the detection zone in her bracelet, and the sensor embedded inside would have picked up on the date rape drug that had been used to spike her drink. She then would have received a notification to her phone alerting her that her drink is not safe to consume, and her safety network would be immediately notified with her live location to provide any additional support she may need. Going forward, Grace, among many other young women, could use the map feature to find frat houses, bars, clubs, and venues in her area and see which ones are safe and which ones have more than just a bad reputation. I'm going to hand things over to Kira now, and she's going to go in-depth into that internal technology.
So our sensor leverages existing technology in the continuous glucose monitor. However, instead of detecting glucose in your blood, we're detecting date rape drugs in your beverage while also utilizing proprietary fluid delivery and filtration systems. And our sensor has 3 main components. The first being our screen-printed electrodes that collect the data, the second being our hardware and our machine learning algorithm that interpret and analyze the data, and the third being our cartridge consumable component, which contains both electrode and fluid delivery systems and ensures that previous beverage tests don't contaminate your current test. These all come together to form our proof of concept, which you can visit and try out at our booth. Currently in lab, we're focusing on our first target, diphenhydramine, and we plan to repeat this workflow with the remaining 4 main date rape drugs. On the left is an image of our benchtop setup, the center image an example of those screen-printed electrodes I mentioned that we placed the sample droplet onto, and on the right is an example of some data that we've gotten in lab with vodka soda and diphenhydramine. The top red line represents a control beverage that contains no drug within it, and the blue line represents a beverage that's been spiked with diphenhydramine. As you can see, the blue line contains a clear peak that differentiates it from the red line, indicating that we are able to detect this drug in vodka soda. Currently in our initial testing, we've validated at 100% accuracy beverages like vodka, tequila, whiskey, and gin in soda water, and we plan to repeat this with other common beverages like beer, wine, and common cocktails.
Now, the technology that we're leveraging with Elora is extremely intentional because it allows us to position ourselves in the market as one of the only products that is discreet aesthetic, wearable, and very importantly, can relay the results clearly to the user. It's very reasonable to assume that our end user will be using the product in dimly lit environments, maybe after they've had several beverages. So it's important that we can clearly tell them whether or not their drink is safe, which is something that is lacking in the pH product competitors that use a color change to show if the drink has been spiked. We have spoken to just over 600 individuals, and through those interactions have been able to validate our target market as young women in college as well as their parents. We'll be beginning with young women who are first-time freshmen in college, which is a market size of about $463 million, and then expanding to all women in college, which expands the market to $1.98 billion, and further expanding to all women in the United States from 18 to 25, which increases our market opportunity to $2.9 billion. But more importantly, it creates the opportunity for us to help protect 16 million young women from drink spiking and drug-facilitated sexual assault, as well as provide all of their parents with peace of mind. And 93% of parents are familiar with drink spiking. It is a serious concern, something that may even keep them up at night. And parents have conveyed that they're willing to pay a premium for their child's safety. Thus, we've been able to validate our price points for our 2 pilot products. Our bracelet will be priced at $220, and our pendant, which could be used as a bag charm or bracelet necklace charm, is priced at $180. Both of these products giving us margins of just about 63%. And then we have the consumable, the cartridge component that Kira talked about earlier, which will be available through subscription models or one-time purchasing and gives us a margin of about 88%, priced at $15. In just the past 5 months, we have already gathered 228 users on the waitlist for Arella. These individuals are eager and excited to get their hands on what we have to offer, and we are just as excited to put Elora into the hands of those who want it and need it most. How are we going to do that? Product development and testing full speed ahead. We will be expanding the matrix of drugs and beverages that we can detect in, while expanding our patent portfolio as well, and then finalizing our MVP and working with a design partner to perfect our form factor prior to our launch in August of 2027. My name is Addie Bounds. I'm the CEO of Elora. I'm joined by my co-founder, Kira, and our CTO, who has a background in biomedical engineering and a degree from Columbia, as well as a master's degree she's currently earning here at Cal Poly. We are joined by 2 other amazing young women, Nina and Lindsay, as well as a fantastic advisory board full of industry knowledge and experience. As you can see, we are a fully female team, which is something that we are super, super proud of, as we represent a product that is made by women, for women, and we would love for you all to join our mission. Today, we are opening our first seed round of $300,000, and we'd like to invite all of you to participate in that raise. If our mission resonates with you and you'd like to consider investing or connecting, please come find us at our booth after the event. We'd love to connect. And again, we are Elora. We are here to empower women everywhere, just like Grace, to protect their peace. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
All right. So our next group, many of you will recognize the person presenting. Oliver was my student intern for a little over 3 years, or maybe just about 3 years. And last summer at the end of the accelerator, he came to me and he said, Tom, I think I'm going to try my hand at this whole startup thing. So I'm going to leave my position and I'm going to spend this year really working on trying to get my own venture off the ground instead of helping other students help get their ventures off the ground. So I sat him down and I said, look, Oliver, entrepreneurs are a dime a dozen, but great student interns are extremely difficult to come by. He ignored me and went on his way. He entered a senior project class, hooked up with Ethan Vosberg, his co-founder. They spent the year working on this idea, and then they later added a bio-whiz out of UCSD, Mika. And Oliver's here today to tell you about their company, Preserva Biotech.
Hello, everyone. My name is Oliver Hawes. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Preserva Biotech, and we are on a mission to make life easier for people with diabetes. Everyone knows someone with diabetes. My family friend Pat has type 1 diabetes, and not long ago, he accidentally left his insulin vials in the car on a hot day. That single mistake led to his blood sugar spiking to extremely dangerous levels, where he was hospitalized overnight and left the next morning with a $6,000 bill. My co-founder Ethan has a brother named William with type 1 diabetes, and over the years, he's seen countless vials of insulin go to waste because of spoilage. And then there's Hannah Dahl, a friend of mine who loves to travel, but she's been hospitalized for diabetic ketoacidosis on 5 separate occasions, each time while she was backpacking in Europe and her insulin stopped working while it was in an insulated cooler. This leads us into the problem that insulin becomes denatured or loses effectiveness when it's outside of a refrigerated temperature or in an agitated state. Now, after attending the American Diabetes Association conference, we interviewed over 45 endocrinologists and nurse practitioners to find that 80% of them believe that insulin denaturing is a big problem for their patients. We also interviewed over 70 people with diabetes to find that 84% of them have noticed their insulin becoming ineffective and that it happens to them at least once a month or more. We've also found thousands of people on Reddit sharing stories and frustrations about how their insulin stopped working and they had no solution available to them. And the main reason for this is that people have no way of knowing how effective their insulin is. The only way for them to know is to test it on themselves to see how it affects their blood sugar. But the problem with that is that they don't know the right dose to take. If they take too little of the ineffective insulin, then their blood sugar will remain dangerously high, which can lead to a coma or death. But if they take too much, trying to compensate for that ineffective insulin, then their blood sugar will remain dangerously low, which can also lead to a coma or death. And so patients are forced to play Russian roulette with their own lives every time that they notice that their insulin isn't working. And after putting their body on the line, they then have to dispose of that $250 vial of insulin. For a drug that works to sustain your life, that is inexcusable, which is why we have created the Evelyn E1, a portable, handheld device for testing the effectiveness of insulin. Now, the way this device would work is you would place your insulin pen or insulin vial into this cartridge. We would then, for reference, this bottle of insulin is 1,000 units, and we'll only be taking out 1 unit of insulin, and using dynamic light scattering, we'll be able to tell the patient within seconds whether or not their insulin is safe to use or not safe to use. We will also have a mobile and web app that connects with the device, so the patient's able to see the exact effectiveness of their insulin and know how much of that insulin to take to properly regulate their blood sugar. Now, we are using dynamic light scattering, which is a process in which we send light through a sample and see how light reflects off the sample. Now, as insulin degrades, the sizes of particles change, and this well-documented technology can identify different sized particles in a solution, which allows us to analyze them and determine if it's good insulin or bad insulin. And so why are we using DLS? It's already a lower cost technique that's used in the industry, and we'll simply be removing certain components to make our optical pathway more simple and scalable. For our development, we've currently spoken to industry professionals and tested on multiple different machines to determine that DLS is the technology that we're going with. We've also identified the data sets that we need to conduct testing, and we've built a benchtop prototype that's able to test the effectiveness of insulin and recreate data that we're seeing from research papers. We've also started to get feedback from this device from endocrinologists like Elizabeth Bashoff from Harvard, who says that her patients would find our device to be very useful and that she will recommend our device to her patients once we pass clinical validation studies. 21 other endocrinologists that we spoke to told us the exact same thing. But we're not the only company that has found this massive problem. Currently, Beyond Diagnostics is using NMR and chromatography, which are advanced lab-grade techniques that are expensive and not accessible to everyday patients. Similar, the ELISA insulin quality test is a lab-grade testing kit, in which you need a sterile environment and other lab equipment to be able to conduct the test. Pharmalytics is our closest competitor, but their one-time test strip takes 30 minutes to get a result, and it needs to be kept in a refrigerated environment, which makes Preserva the only device coming to market that can be used anywhere and gives you immediate and accurate results. For our revenue model, we plan to sell at a retail price of $400, and after distribution and cost of goods sold, we're looking at a 78% profit margin for the base device. But these cartridges are actually one-time use, and they'll act as a razor blade model for us. We plan to sell these at a retail price of $2.50, and and after distribution and cost of goods sold, it's a 78% profit margin for the cartridges. But ultimately, we plan to get into drugstores like Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens by selling through medical device distributors like Cardinal Health and McKesson. For our market size, we're looking at a $36 billion total available market, which includes if we were to sell to all insulin-dependent people around the world. But for a serviceable addressable market, we're looking at $1.6 billion, which includes the total insulin-dependent people in the US. And if we were to just capture 10% of the US market in the next 10 years, we're looking at a $153 million sum. And so right now, we've done over 150 customer interviews. We've identified the predicate devices that have gone through the FDA. We have verified that our technology is viable and built a benchtop prototype, as well as we've won awards at Innovation Quest and have started to protect our intellectual property. And we just onboarded a senior design team of 4 bioengineers at UC San Diego who will be helping us prototype for all of next year. And for our pathway to market, we're currently doing lab testing and customer development to ensure that we're making the product that our customers need. This will then lead us into prototyping and patent submission in fall of 2025, where we'll then be doing our clinical validation studies with the NOR Foundation, which is a health clinic here in SLO. This will then kick off our FDA approval process, where we're estimated to be cleared of a 510(k) pathway by the end of 2027. And this is the team to make it happen. My name is Oliver Hawes. I'm the co-founder and CEO, and I'm partnered with 2 brilliant engineers. Ethan Vosberg, our CTO, is a Cal Poly-trained computer engineer, and Michaela Morera, our chief science officer, is a UCSD-trained bioengineer. We also have an amazing team of advisors along with us, industry experts Sean Saint and Peter Falzone, as well as our endocrinologist advisor, Dr. Tunke Delabasi. And we are seeking to raise $115,000 to fund development and hire key personnel, and this investment will help us achieve 3 critical milestones over the next year. We will have built our minimum viable product to begin user testing. We will have secured a provisional patent to protect our core technology, and we will have submitted all the necessary documentation for our FDA pre-submission, which is a key step in our regulatory process. Thank you, everyone. We are Preserva Biotech, and we are on a mission to make life easier for people with diabetes.
All right. Well, this next team of Rex and Jeremy, most of the time when people come to the accelerator, I've gotten little glimpses of work that they've been doing beforehand. This was a complete unknown. They showed up to the interview for the accelerator talking about a device to calm people down, help ease stress. And I was like, okay, and it seemed interesting. Both of them had very interesting backgrounds. And after working with them for a while in the summer, I was like, where did this idea come from? This is the 2 most chill people I've ever met. I mean, their voices, these guys were born for C-SPAN. I would sit with them in meetings and I'd be like, I find myself just calming down. Like you could market podcasts for this. But they were insistent that this external device that they're working on was needed beyond their voices. Apparently they are not scalable. And so I'm happy to introduce Rex and Jeremy to the stage to tell you about NeuRelief Medical.
Thank you, Tom. I'm glad we were able to soothe you this summer. I'm Rex Walker, and this is my co-founder, Jeremy Laufer, and we're NeuRelief Medical, where our mission is to deliver solutions that help people sleep better. 1 out of every 3 people in this room have experienced insomnia. And for those of you who haven't, think about the last awful night of sleep you had. But remember how you felt the next day. Agitated or unfocused. And now try to imagine that happening the next day, and the next, and the next, for weeks or months or even years. Imagine the toll that would take on not just your own well-being, but your family or your friends or your relationships or work. And it doesn't just end there, because racking up poor sleep significantly increases your risk for chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, dementia. And now, when we went and spoke to people with insomnia, what we found was that it's often popping up when people need to be their best. When they're raising young children or they're completely slammed in that demanding role. And their only solutions are prescription medications, which are highly addictive, lose effectiveness over time, and linger in your system, just leaving you feeling drowsy again. And then there's cognitive behavioral therapy, which the reality is inaccessible and extremely expensive, leading to only 1% of those with chronic insomnia actually receiving this treatment. Now, we knew there had to be a better option, and that's why we're introducing today Somnostim, the only neuromodulatory sleep mask that helps you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and get the rest you all deserve. And now, Jeremy's going to tell you about the science behind how we're achieving this.
The vagus nerve is our body's calming superhighway that starts in the brain and travels all the way down to the intestines, with exits at major organs along the way. If you've ever done deep breathing or meditation and you felt relaxed, that's your vagus nerve at work. Vagus nerve stimulation is already known to be an effective treatment for conditions ranging from epilepsy to migraines and depression. But here's what's interesting. By gently stimulating a specific part of the ear, we're able to tap into the power of the vagus nerve and modulate various sleep regulation centers in the brain. In doing so, we're able to help someone to feel calmer and fall asleep faster. We're at the cutting edge of this technology in the treatment of insomnia, and researchers are finding that it's both safe and effective for improving sleep quality and decreasing insomnia severity. So we're incorporating this technology into Somnostim. It's safe, simple to use, and provides a precise signal that is optimized for each user in real time. On top of this, we plan on housing the device into a wearable that is comfortable to sleep with. At NeuRelief Medical, we're pushing forward the field of non-invasive vagus nerve stimulation with several novel features that set us apart. We're the first sleep mask to incorporate neuromodulation. We've designed a novel ear electrode interface that is comfortable, stays in your ear all night, and delivers stimulation exactly where you need it. And finally, we plan on finding the optimal stimulation protocols to best support your sleep. So here's where we currently stand. We've developed our initial prototype and are in the process of collecting data on our first users. And so far, the results are promising. Somnostim, with our proprietary ear electrode interface, is successfully activating the vagus nerve.
And up until now, other vagus nerve stimulators that promote better sleep haven't even been designed properly to be worn in a bed. They all deliver this generic one-size-fits-all stimulation, and none of them have gone the extra mile of proving out their efficacy through rigorous clinical trials. These are all standards that at NeuRelief we're holding Somnostim to. Now, last June, we completed our initial design, and over the summer, we tirelessly prototyped that out, bringing us to the MVP that we have here today. Going into the fall, we're going to be making improvements to that design and carrying out initial testing with those suffering from insomnia. Come December, we'll be completing our first raise of $75,000 that is going to fund multiple development cycles and propel us to a final product in June of 2026. But that final product won't be the end of it. We'll just be getting started and raising $2 million to fund clinical trials, which will span 9 months from October of 2026 to June of 2027, where we will submit for FDA 510K. Now, as that submission gets reviewed, we'll be finalizing our early adopters, as well as our manufacturing operations, and raising $5 million so that as soon as that clearance comes through, we're ready to launch our product in January of 2028. And we will be launching into a massive market. And in the US alone, adults with insomnia give us a market size of $93 billion. From there, we're targeting those with chronic insomnia, meeting them at that patient-doctor visit. And by strategically targeting those already taking medications for their sleep and regularly seeing their doctor, we've identified an initial obtainable market of $37 million that will grow to $100 million within the first 3 years. And this is the team that's going to do it. My co-founder, Jeremy, has a background in psychology, neuroscience, and biomedical engineering, as well as experience working at multiple medical device startups and carrying out research at Stanford in neurostimulation. Myself, my background is in biomedical engineering, where I've gained experience and knowledge working on and designing medical devices through various companies and projects, as well as experience helping startups source fundraising. Now, with our combined expertise and that of our incredible advisors, Jan Haynes, our business advisor, and Don Hanela, our engineering advisor, we have a powerful foundation that will take this device to market. And what we're looking for today is $50,000 in pre-seed funding to finalize our prototype, carry out beta testing with early adopters, and file our first utility patent. But beyond fundraising, we're looking to connect with anyone out there who has or knows someone that has experienced insomnia and would like to give feedback on our device. Please, after the show, if this is you or someone you know, come to our booth, because with your help, we can deliver the rest needed to millions in the world. Thank you. Wait. You want?
All right. Our next team, I met Mayella about 2 years ago now, and I walked into the hatchery one day, and she had what looked like a kind of a cafeteria tray full of goop. And she was like, had a stick, and she was like swirling it around, and so that's not normally the type of thing that when I walk into our student incubator that I see. So I went over and said, hey, you know, I'm Tom, I'm Mayella, what are you working on? Oh, I've been working on this project, I'm doing this chemistry stuff, and I was like, great, what are you studying here? She's like, oh, I'm doing my MBA. Like, okay, well, what was your undergrad in? Marketing. I was like, all right. So I started asking her more and more questions, and she had been working on this for a little while, and I said, okay, this is clearly the type of person that just gets stuff done. She had no training in what she was doing. She was like learning stuff on YouTube and searching the internet because she saw a problem that she wanted to solve. And I was just like immediately attracted to her resolve. Along the way, she ended up meeting up with Michelle, her co-founder, who's a material scientist who added some technical chops behind what she was working on. And I'm happy to introduce to you today Ecoplasticity.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Cullen and I am one of the co-founders of Ecoplasticity, and we are here to redefine plastic. So we all love takeout, but the issue with it lies in the amount of waste that it generates. The takeout containers alone generate 9 million tons of landfill waste every single year. And as end consumers, this waste problem shouldn't entirely be our responsibility, because when it comes down to it, there's only 2 container options that we have. We have a container that is sustainable but doesn't work, or a container that will always end up in the landfill, either because it contains a hidden plastic lining on the inside of it, or because it is made entirely of plastic. And so the responsibility really lies on the manufacturers or the producers of these products. And these lawmakers are finally realizing this. They are spearheading this realization through the adoption of extended producer responsibility, or EPR laws. These laws require that the manufacturers of takeout containers create a product that is either recyclable or compostable. And within the past 4 years, 7 states have enacted these packaging EPR laws. And even considering the current state of environmental regulation, just within this year of 2025, 10 additional states have drafted these packaging EPR laws, showing that not only are these laws here to stay, but they're continuing to gain more and more momentum. And currently, the only product on the market that fits these regulatory requirements are those same sustainable containers I showed earlier, the ones that do not work. And so what we have done at Ecoplasticity is we have created a bio-based barrier coating that replaces the plastic lining found on paperboard takeout containers. It enables the manufacturers of these products to create something that meets both regulatory and performance requirements. And we do that with our proprietary barrier coating called Sargasseel. It meets regulation by being both 100% compostable and recyclable. It meets performance requirements by being leak-proof and microwave safe. And on top of that, we have an added additional environmental benefit due to the fact that it is derived from seaweed, specifically an invasive species of seaweed called sargassum. Sargassum spans all the way from Florida to the Caribbean, and in just of May of this year, it was reported that 38 million more tons of the seaweed was headed towards the coastal communities of those areas. And now this seaweed poses several issues. It harms marine life. When it rots on the beach, it releases a horrid smell. And to kind of combat these issues, local governments are pouring millions of dollars into removing it from the beaches every single year. And at Ecoplasticity, we want to turn this waste into a resource. And that is why we are partnering with Origin by Ocean. They are a company that is removing sargassum from the oceans, purifying it, cleaning it, and extracting the specific raw material that we need to make our coating. That and our additional raw materials are sent to a contract manufacturer that we have hired to make our proprietary coating. We sell that coating to our customers, who are going to be the manufacturers of the takeout containers. What they do is they take our coating, they coat it onto their paperboard substrate, form up the container itself, and then sell that to their customers, like restaurants or various food packaging distributors. And so far, we have already spoken with some of these customers. This includes Graphic Packaging, World Centric, and Westwalk. And they all agree on the same thing. We need a product that is sustainable but doesn't compromise performance. We've also spoken with their customers, or our customer influencers. This includes dining facilities at universities as well as various restaurants. And they are all upset about the same thing. Why are we currently spending 5 times more for a product that doesn't even work? So far, we have sent samples of our coating to Graphic Packaging. They currently occupy the largest market share in the takeout container industry in the United States. They said that most grease barrier applications we work on target between 8 and 10. Yours is a 12. A 12 is the highest you can get on this grease barrier test. On top of that, we have demonstrated water resistance of our coating. And this is very important for foods that contain more water, like sauces and various types of curries. And as you can see on the slide, at the bottom of the beaker is a sample of our dried coating that has been submerged in water for over 2 weeks and has remained unchanged. And creating a water-resistant material from seaweed is the innovation and technology that we will be patenting. We've also verified the regulatory compliance of our coating. We have sent samples of it to a third-party test that tested our coating against strict European compostability standards, and they verified that our product would indeed be compostable. Furthermore, we have sent samples of our coating to the Waste Connections and Recycling Centers in SLO, and they said that your coating would certainly be recyclable. And you can see our product in action here or at our booth in the back. On the top row, you have an uncoated takeout container with French fries in it. And within just 1 hour, you can already see oil leaking through. And after 24 hours, it just gets worse. The bottom row contains a takeout container that has Sargassum on it. Even after 24 hours, it has remained leak-proof. Our initial target market will be the 3 states that have fully rolled out their EPR regulation with enforcement by 2028, giving us an initial market of around $188 million. And as more states continue to adopt these EPR laws, and as the sustainable takeout container market continues to consume the plastic and replace those plastic products, the market opportunity for our product will only continue to grow. PLA is what is currently being used to coat takeout containers. It is a bioplastic, but the issue with it is that it is not compliant with those EPR laws I mentioned earlier. Sargassum, on the other hand, performs just like PLA, but is compliant with those EPR laws. And we were able to offer it at a competitive price with a 35% gross profit margin. So far, we have raised over $100,000 in non-dilutive funding. We have already launched our educational marketing campaign, which will then transform into our product marketing as we move down the line. Right now, we are heavy into product development and building those early customer relationships. From there, we will then file our provisional patent in winter of next year. That will then lead us to our pilot testing phase. We have already entered into a written engagement with Westrock, and they have agreed to do pilot testing with our product in spring of next year. From there, we will then file our non-provisional patent on our technology before leading us into our initial launch. With an expected revenue at the end of 2026 with $340,000 in revenue. And as we continue to scale and grow, by 2028, we will have a revenue of $11 million. Our team is composed of Maela and myself. We have both been environmental advocates since we've been very young children. Maela is my co-founder and CEO. She just graduated with her MBA from Cal Poly. She is a strategic marketer with over 5 years of experience. I am the co-founder and CTO. I have my materials engineering degree from Cal Poly, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in polymers and coatings. We also have a diversely skilled board of advisors, bringing in expertise from business development, regulatory compliance, as well as product development. And today we are asking for connections to materials engineers, chemical engineers, and chemists, as we want to continue building out our technical team. On top of that, we would love any type of warm introductions to angel investors. We are Ecoplasticity, and we are redefining plastic through the development of a seaweed-based coating. Thank you.
Okay. This next team, I rarely have met a couple people who were so bold at doing customer development as this group. They started out, they joined forces in a senior project class, and they both had a passion for working and finding a problem that people in the aging population were dealing with. So they basically embedded themselves in senior living communities. And Eli would come to class, and he'd be like, oh, you know, Dorothy's dating Jim now, and Chuck just had some grandkids, and Margaret was in a mood today because she hates it when meatloaf's on the menu. And it was, like, amazing. He got to know these people so well. They started getting invited to events. They were getting yelled at, and they were just unfazed by the process. And it was just so much fun to watch them build together, work on problems together. And then a fun fact about this group, so Victoria, who is the engineering brains behind the group, she has been competing competitively in roller derby since it was legal to do it. She told me, I tried to do it earlier, but they said I'm not old enough. And so if you want to get an idea of like how rough and tumble this group is, they are amazing. The other thing that I can say about this group is I'm pretty sure they were the first to revenue, because they were collecting pills from people throughout the summer. And at one point, it looked like we were running a small pharmacy out of the hothouse. And then one day, all the pills were gone. So I assume that they're funding their business. So welcome to the stage, Eli, to tell us about One Fountain Health.
And Mary and Chuck are actually got a divorce recently, so unfortunately. Hello, everyone. My name is Eli Lazar. I'm the co-founder and CEO of One Fountain Health, and our mission is to help people maintain complete independence through flawless management of their medications. Meet Vincent. He's probably a lot like you or me, in that the only medication he's really had to take is an antibiotic. If he misses a dose, no big deal. Now, this is Vincent's mom, Susan, and this is the lineup of pill bottles she looks at every Sunday when she sorts her medication. She takes Coumadin once a day, Prilosec, but has to remember to take it on an empty stomach. She often wonders, what does empty really mean? And an NSAID as needed, such as Advil, which should be simple, but if she takes Advil and Coumadin at the same time, it could cause severe internal bleeding. And you're probably thinking, well, doesn't the doctor tell you this when they prescribe it to you? Well, yes, but the primary care physician prescribed these two, and the cardiologist prescribed these two. So she has to deliver back to the directions, but if she gets even one thing wrong on this fire hose of information, she could end up in the hospital. And the one person who's typically there to help her out with all of this, her son, lives 9 hours away. So it makes sense when she herself says that not being able to manage her medication safely will ultimately be the reason she loses her independence. And it's not just Susan. Over 40% of older Americans are taking 5 or more medications at a time. This is called polypharmacy, and it affects 24 million people in the US. And it's not a harmless statistic. 1 in 9 emergency room visits are due to medication mismanagement, costing the US healthcare system over $17 billion a year. Now, in order to close this gap, and help people preserve their independence, we've developed the ReliaPill dispenser. an at-home solution that helps to eliminate the most cumbersome and dangerous aspects of managing medication, starting with the setup. Rather than manually entering complex dosing information or confusing names of medication, the user simply scans their pill bottle and the device is ready to go. This is made possible by our proprietary automated identification system, a method using optical character recognition and a large language model as a verification in order to create a virtual label which the device uses to compile the medication list. After the user scans their pill bottle, they open it and pour all of the contents into the device, and the rest is done for them, thereby eliminating the often time-consuming and prone to human error process of sorting medication. Now, our users told us that the solution needs to integrate into something they're already familiar with, which happens to be some form of the pill container. They like it. It's simple, it's visual, you can travel with it, which is exactly why we're incorporating it into our device. By sorting the medication into a pill box, it gives the user something portable they can remove from the device, put in their pocket, and go about their day without having to worry about their medication. And lastly, our users told us that the solution needs to be both transparent and reliable, which is why we integrated a very simple user interface, giving users information about the name of the medication, what it's used for, which doctor prescribed it, and any potential interactions between medications. Now, our total available market is represented by older adults in the US experiencing polypharmacy. This is a $14 billion market and growing. 10,000 people turn 65 in the US every single day. Now, our serviceable attainable market of 900 million represents a portion of people with no child within 100 miles, representing people who have no readily available help with their health. And our serviceable obtainable market of 18 million represents a conservative estimate of that group, considering factors like slow tech adoption as well as income level. Now, what most independent older adults do today is use some form of the pill container, but it often requires a whole host of other solutions in order to make it work. In addition, people are tired of taking the time every week to sort it. There's PillPack, which is a mail order pharmacy. They send you a month's worth of your prescriptions at a time. But past users of PillPack have told us that dosing schedules can change much more frequently than a month, thereby not meeting the dynamic needs of many people's medication routines. And then there's the at-home devices that exist today, like Hero Health and Medicube, that are more targeted towards caregivers and institutional facilities. They dispense your pills and beep when it's time to take them. But Judy from our very first focus group highlighted something really important. They give you no flexibility. By only dispensing the exact pills at the exact right time you need to take them, they tether you to your home. This is where we sit. An at-home solution that gives people the flexibility they need by offering a portable element, something that meets the dynamic needs of people's medication routines, fitting into the pharmacy they already use, while integrating into a solution they're comfortable with, the pill container, while eliminating its most cumbersome aspect, the sorting. Now, we'll launch with a subscription-based model starting at $12.99 a month and an upfront cost of $199 in order to cover our cost of goods sold. Assuming an average customer lifetime of 2 years, this puts our average margin at 61%. Now, we've recently applied to the AgeTech Collaborative AARP Accelerator, as well as the AgeWell National Impact Challenge, at a chance to win $20,000. We'll use this money towards securing a provisional patent on both our scanning and sorting technology, as well as beginning safety and performance testing as we look ahead to our 510(k) submission halfway through 2026, which will ensure our readiness to launch. And at launch, we'll go direct to consumer, targeting CAPS, or children of aging parents, through digital advertising and selling on our website. In 2028, we'll partner with home health agencies and product recommendation sites like the Senior List, where millions of Americans go to research new tech products for older adults. And in 2029, we'll begin establishing relationships with small to mid-sized Medicare Advantage plan companies in order to run a pilot test of 100 users, tracking metrics such as reductions in medication errors and reductions in hospitalizations. Now again, I'm Eli, co-founder and CEO. I graduated with a degree in business and a focus in entrepreneurship and marketing from Cal Poly. My co-founder and CTO, Victoria, has a degree in computer engineering with a specific focus in healthcare applications. we've been very lucky to have advisors who not only work in the medtech space, but actively work in their day-to-day lives with older adults and technology in order to close the digital divide. This is precisely why we've assembled our very own customer advisory council of early adopters we've identified throughout our customer research process. We've recently concluded our first round of concept validation focus groups at senior centers and independent living communities across the Central Coast. From this research, we've been able to develop a minimum viable product, which we'd love for you to check out at our booth. And our ask is that if you or someone you know are taking 5 or more medications at a time, please feel free to come to our booth and talk to us about your experience. And again, we are One Fountain Health, and our mission is to help people maintain complete independence through flawless management of their medications. Thank you.
All right. This next team was in my senior project class, and I'd say they got off to a slow start. So after the first quarter working together, Nathan Baer, who was co-teaching with me this year, thanks Nathan, we kind of had to sit them down and say, guys, we were pretty blunt. We said, this was sort of a dumpster fire quarter for you. And they didn't deny it. And so they kind of put their heads together, finally rallied around an idea, and got to work. And we're building. They applied to our annual Innovation Quest competition and just barely missed out making it to the finals. But they were undeterred. They were like, no, what we're working on is important. Let's keep building, kept moving along. And 3 days before Innovation Quest, a spot opened in the finals. And I went to him and said, hey guys, like, I know you haven't been prepping for this, but like, you can get on stage if you can show us that you'll be ready. And they spent the next like 24 hours working nonstop, put together a pitch, went on stage a couple days later in the finals IQ and killed it. And they have been building ever since, and it's my great honor to welcome Sam and Gianni to the stage to talk about Devscribe.
Thank you. Thanks for the intro, Tom. He wasn't exaggerating, it was a dumpster fire. I don't know what we were doing, but we made it, so that's the good news. But hi, we're Devscribe, and we're building the future of documentation. So AI has fundamentally changed the software creation process. It allows developers to massively increase their output by writing most of their code for them. But it's not just the development that's been supercharged, it's the entire software creation process, all the way from the requirements and the design of a product, to the development and the building of a product, and finally the testing of that product. All of those have specific AI tools to speed up those processes, except for documentation. Documentation is still being written manually by technical writers and developers, which is a huge bottleneck on how fast a software product can actually be released. Documentation is the essential final step to actually releasing a product. It is what allows customers and users to effectively use and understand how a software product works. The issue is that writing documentation takes developers roughly 20% of their time, which means that businesses end up spending about $45,000 a year per developer for them to write potentially poor or incomplete documentation. And as AI continues to write code faster and faster, it means that documentation is going to fall out of date even faster and faster. And for companies that have large amounts of documentation, it is very easy for pages here and there to fall out of date. And so that's where we come in. The solution to this is an AI-powered platform that automatically generates new documentation and updates existing documentation. And we make sure that your customers always get the relevant and up-to-date information they need. And by automating this entire process, we make sure that developers can focus on their projects and features and not writing documentation. So basically the way it works is we take code and we turn it into documentation. We have created an entire system of AI documentation agents that have access to tools and all the information that they need to actually produce high-quality output, the same that you would expect from a human writer. And so for the types of documentation that we can generate user documentation, anything like instruction manuals or user guides, anything to actually understand how to use a software product. We also generate internal documentation, which helps explain how code works, how system works, and is helpful for onboarding new employees. We also create API documentation, which is a very important developer piece of documentation. And we also have support for creating pages for AI agents. AI agents are going to have a larger and larger presence in the developer workforce, so it's important to get this right today. And so what these pages do is they essentially instruct AI agents how to maneuver through your documentation so that they can effectively get the information that they need. And lastly, we can create release notes, which are just updates for users of your software product. And I just want to reiterate, this is not an idea or a fantasy. We've actually turned this into reality over the span of 3 months, and we have rolled out every single one of these features to make it so that it is, in fact, real.
Our business model is simple. We are charging companies $300 per seat with additional charges for excessive AI usage and custom enterprise features. By going with this business model, it allows for pricing that scales as our companies grow. You might be asking yourself, who the hell would trust these two up here on stage with their entire company's code base? The answer is probably no one, but we found a way around this by targeting open source companies. Open source companies are those that have their code publicly available, which allows us to bypass the major hurdle of code security. Since this code is available to the public, this allows us to generate documentation for these companies without ever connecting with them, wowing the prospects from the start. Not only that, but we are open sourcing the web editor feature of our own to generate buzz around Devscribe within the developer community. Going into 2026 is when we will start by targeting smaller startups wanting to automate their documentation from day one. We'll be building in public by posting on social and blog posts, as well as partnering with accelerator programs such as Y Combinator and Techstars, since this is where a majority of these smaller startups will be coming out of. In 2027 is when we are going to tackle the enterprise customer looking to replace their manual documentation writing team with a more automated system. We'll be hosting booths at API and documentation conferences with the goal of talking to these customers face-to-face. Not only that, but we will collaborate with AI companies that specialize in producing the actual API products for these enterprises, further selling the vision of full autopilot when it comes to the software development lifecycle. Our initial market, being those open source companies, is a $360 million market. Leading into that, total software companies with external documentation is a $12 billion market. But Devscribe does not stop at software companies. Our total addressable market, being all companies with at least one developer, is a $72 billion market. We spoke with the head of IT at Nike, and he said that Nike each year spends well over 9 figures on developer cost. And those same developers are spending at least 20% of their time on documentation. Despite Nike being a shoe company, it just shows how large this market truly is. Now, into our competitors. They are broken down into 2 categories currently. One side being those that focus on customization of docs, and the other side being those that focus on generating the docs. Devscribe has positioned itself directly in the middle of that market. Not only can we generate documentation for your developers, but we can also make sure that those same docs are beautiful and intuitive for your customers. By the end of this year, we are projected to hit $26,000 in revenue and scale that to well over $300 million by the end of 2030. The reason for this rapid growth is because we benefit as our companies go from small startups into larger enterprises at 0 additional cost of acquisition. And why us? Since we connect directly to companies' code bases, this allows for full automation. Not only can we generate those docs, we can also make sure that those same docs are always going to be up to date. Like Sam was saying, we hired 6 interns to fill development roles who have all experienced this problem firsthand during their roles at Amazon, NVIDIA, and Scale AI. And why now? AI companies are spending billions and billions of dollars on research and development to improve their models, which means AI is getting better each and every day. And since AI is the core feature of our platform, that means that our documentation is going to get better each and every day as well. Lastly, the faster that AI writes code, the faster the current documentation process is going to fall behind. Automation is the only answer. I'm Gianni Hart, co-founder and CEO, also leading the sales and design team.
I'm Seb Solano. I formerly worked at Amazon as a software engineer, and I'm the lead engineer and CTO here at Devscribe. This is our mentor, Steve Villarengo. He's been advising us throughout the summer. He has 20 years of experience in the software business. He's somewhere out here. Shout out, Steve. And he's formerly Senior Vice President at Automation Anywhere. But this wouldn't have been possible without our awesome team of interns back there. They didn't even know they were in here, so that's pretty cool. It would not have been possible without them this summer, and we actually ran the numbers yesterday, and we found out that we wrote 60,000 lines of code this summer. So we've been very productive, and we actually ran the numbers even more and found out that Daryl up there actually wrote 15,000 lines himself. So I thought it was going to be me, but you were number one, so shout out. And Gianni actually ended up writing 2,000 lines of code, and he's a business student, so it shows how good AI is. So pretty insane. It's very good.
We are raising a $300,000 pre-seed round, with the majority of those funds going towards salaries, then sales and marketing, and finally compliance. We'll be raising an additional seed round by next May, and by that time, we will have 18 companies using Devscribe, generating $74,000 in monthly recurring revenue. We are building the future of documentation, and that documentation is on autopilot with Devscribe. Thank you.
All right, last team of the night. So this group, I can say that they clearly do not understand appropriate boundaries. The first time I met them, Alex walked into my office. I'd never met her. She goes, "Hey, Katona." I was like, who is this person? But then the next day she came back with Vion, and he was like, "Katona." And I was like, not like Professor, not Mr. Katona, not Dr. Katona, not even Tom, just Katona. And I didn't have the heart to tell them that that was inappropriate until 2 weeks ago. And to which Alex goes, "Really? Oh my gosh." But they were just so excited every time they came by. I couldn't burst their bubble. And they were so excited, actually, I would wake up on Sunday and find my auto calendar scheduled for 3 to 4 times a week with meetings with them. And I was like, okay, yeah, I do have other students and some things I'm trying to get done, but Alex was on it, blocking out my calendar, trying to get help. She was just so enthused about what she was working on, and it was infectious to me. But it's a food product. And she kept coming to my office. I'm like, well, can I try this stuff? She's like, oh, no, I meant to bring it, but I forgot it this time. Or, oh, we made a bunch last night, but I ate it all. And I'm sitting there thinking, is this real? Or is this girl just yanking my chain? And then they came to Innovation Quest, and they conveniently brought N-1 cups for people to try where I was N. So everybody got a cup but me. So literally, I've been working with them since March, and I first tried their product a week and a half ago. But I can vouch it's really good. So I'm really happy to welcome to the stage the folks for Vandra.
In 2015, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. I was in 5th grade at the time, and the antibiotics and stress of being in and out of doctor's offices left my gut completely wrecked. This led to chronic fatigue, cystic acne, and intense stomach pain. And I tried everything. Every pill, every powder, every magical solution, nothing worked. It wasn't until I tried kefir that I actually saw a difference. Kefir is a fermented milk drink that is globally recognized as one of the most, if not the most, potent source of probiotics. And it changed everything for me. Hi, my name is Alex Malone. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Vandra, a health and wellness company that is tackling the American gut health crisis by providing clinically backed prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic benefits to America's favorite dessert, ice cream. Today, 73% of grocery store shelves are made up of ultra-processed foods, and it is fueling an American gut health crisis. This is why 40% of Americans' daily lives are disrupted by digestive issues. It's also why autoimmune diseases, IBS, depression, food intolerances, and metabolic disorders are all skyrocketing. This information is making its way through headlines, social media, podcasts, and hashtags. People are starting to realize the direct correlation between their gut and their overall health, and it is leading to a boom in the probiotic industry. Vandra is entering a $6.29 billion US probiotic industry that is projected to reach $8.33 billion by 2030. But probiotics alone are not enough to heal a broken gut. So people are left to juggle their pills, restrictive diets, and misinformation alone. I understand how tiring this can be. I've lived it. That is why I, along with my co-founder, Vion Ruthman, have innovated a complete gut healing ritual disguised as your favorite comfort food, ice cream. It looks like ice cream, it tastes like ice cream, it feels like ice cream, but it's too healthy to call it ice cream. So, Vandra is a frozen kefir dessert that utilizes kefir's naturally occurring probiotic strains by adding additionally clinically backed probiotic strains and enhances the prebiotic fiber through inulin and honey and utilizes the power of postbiotics through fermentation. But the true innovation that lies within Vandra is our proprietary formula and techniques that we use to keep your probiotics alive through freezing, shelf life, and storage. But I want to circle back to kefir real quick. Kefir is making its way to the US markets, thank God. And over the past 5 years, the search term kefir has more than quadrupled in California alone. People are starting to realize the true potential that lies within kefir. But as much as I love kefir, it has its limitations. It's sour and tangy and not something most people can stick with daily. Its probiotics vary bottle to bottle. It lacks the prebiotic fiber to feed your already present probiotics, and its probiotics are extremely unstable, meaning they oftentimes do not survive through shelf life. That's why we created Vandra. We took what was powerful about kefir and made it work for real life and real consumers. Each Vandra pint contains 13 diverse strains of live probiotics, prebiotic fiber well within your daily recommended range, and healing postbiotics, all alongside clean label ingredients that are built for you and your gut. Because we know that there's not just one simple solution to a broken gut. There's 3: prebiotics to feed, probiotics to restore, and postbiotics to heal. While most companies are only looking at one piece of the puzzle, we're looking at the full picture and putting it into something that's actually crave-worthy. And believe me when I say, it's absolutely delicious. I could not keep my hands off this stuff in production, and I got in trouble multiple times. Okay, there are companies that are marketing themselves as being gut-friendly. However, their formulas actually contain artificial additives, gums, and refined sugars that are actually gut disruptors. They also lack the scientifically validated high levels of probiotic retention and do not contain the symbiotic relationship we just talked about: prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics, all which are necessary for long-term gut health. That's why we found it critical to bring Vandra to market. We needed to give people an easy and effective way to indulge in gut health. Over the past 4 months, we have raised $25,000 in non-diluted funding. This has helped us do 2 successful production runs, giving us a finalized formula and validating live probiotics. We have secured our co-packer and have began doing sampling parties alongside sensory testing to learn directly from our consumer. And we were just accepted into California Milk's incubator. Now going forward, we will begin producing with Leo Gelato. This will help us launch 3 SKUs in October, initially into farmers markets and then into retail stores, all supported by self-distribution. Then we will scale to a larger co-packer and expand into regional retail stores and begin working with national distributors. Finally, we will expand nationally. Alongside e-commerce, we will expand into national retail stores and begin advanced advertising campaigns to spread the word about Vandra. Moving into phase 2, we have a set retail price of $10.99 with a cost of goods sold of $2.38. This leaves us with a strong profit margin of 78%, leaving room for marketing, operational expenses, and future wholesale pricing flexibility. In March 2028, we have a projected revenue of $300,000, fueled by 91,000 pints sold in over 350 stores nationwide in just that month alone. But none of this would have been possible without our incredible network that we have standing beside us. We have partners who support us on both production and research. Our advisory board is made up of experts on both business and health, and our sponsors believe in us and our mission. Together, this network has provided us with the guidance, knowledge, and support that we needed to build our early foundation and is allowing us to take our next step forward. Today, we ask you to join us. Awkward. Okay. Of course it happened to me. Okay, well, today we ask you to join us in helping to heal the guts of America. We are looking to raise $170,000 to fuel us going from local to regional. We are also looking to get industry connections and have pop-up opportunities. The American gut health crisis is real, and it is now. Vandra is not just a treat, it is a wellness ritual disguised as a frozen dessert, and it is coming to a freezer near you. Do not forget to grab a sample on your way out at our booth. I know everyone was really upset about that, but you get them now. Vandra, crave a better you. Thank you. Bro, it glitched.
Great. All right. Let's give a round of applause again for all the teams. So as a reminder, if you still have money left, the teams are going to be out in the courtyard. Go talk to them, ask questions about their projects, and just go meet them as people. They're really great individuals. And make sure to put that money in their box so they can, one team is going to win a meeting with Central Coast Ventures. Also, want to remind you that the academic year is getting back to it. So this is sort of our end of the year program, and we restart everything in a couple weeks. Our first big event of the year is on November 6th, elevator pitch competition, where we start to look for the people that are going to be in next summer's accelerator program. So mark your calendars for that. And then last, I want to make sure that I thank all of the people that really make this program happen. So the CIE has a lot of different programs that it's part of. And I tend to generally focus on the stuff that's happening on campus. We have stuff that goes on throughout the community, and this Summer Accelerator program really is one of the programs that's the bridge between campus and the community. It's where everybody on our staff is all hands on deck working with these teams. So I'd like to invite all of the CIE staff up onto the stage. Come on, folks, I know you're back there. So we have our SBDC, oh, there we go. Our SBDC led by Donica, Lindsay, woo! Lindsay, Nikki, they have been working with our team, well, Donica running workshops with our teams, Lindsay and Nikki helping our teams get set up with consultants, getting them onboarded to all the different resources that the SBDC provides. Nicole, and Priya, who have been running things day to day. They basically make this thing happen. Stephanie and her team of interns, they have been, so how many people have been following the CIE content this summer? Yeah. I mean, they are putting stuff together every week, supporting these teams. I will say, so shout out on the slide design. It was awesome. Stephanie, I had actually not seen the slides until last night, and I texted Stephanie. I was like, those things, they pop, they're whimsical. I love it. Like, great slide design. So happy. And Melina, who is just always working with the teams, getting quotes. She is the person who puts all of the content together. I just can't say enough about the team. Karen, why are you not on stage? And April, come on. Karen, who runs the whole thing, and April. I feel very fortunate to work with such a great team. So with that, thank you all for coming out. It's always just a fun event to get everybody from the community together, to celebrate some students, to really leave knowing that the next generation, that we are in good hands with them. Go talk to them, mingle, and thank you very much.